Hello, and thank you so much for tuning in with us today. My name is Sabrina with Powering Arizona, and we're here with another episode of Perspectives in the Workforce. Today, we're joined by Sierra English, who is a journeyman, foreman, instructor, and executive board member. Thanks so much for joining us today, Sierra.
Thank you for having me, Sabrina.
So to start off, can you tell us about your background and what led you to become an electrician?
Yeah, so I grew up working on cars. I took automotive classes throughout all of high school, and then I actually went to university to study chemical engineering.
Oh, whoa.
Right.
That's crazy.
Right. So I didn't like the whole university thing. The big lecture halls weren't for me, and I jumped into the trade. I joined an apprenticeship and hit the ground running.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like being able to do something that's so hands-on works for a lot of people.
It does, and it definitely beats crowded lecture halls.
Yeah, I feel that. What are some of the challenges that you faced as a woman in a male-dominated field, and how are you overcoming them?
So when I was first an apprentice, I felt like all I was doing was organizing and cleaning, and I was watching all of the guys get to go install things and do all of the cool things, even if they started after I did. And it was a lot of jealousy on my part, and I felt like it was unfair. And I basically just kind of started showing what I know and letting myself shine even when I wasn't asked to. And finally, I started getting picked to do all of the cool things too.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. And how have you seen the industry change over the years in terms of diversity and inclusion? And do you feel like there's still more work that can be done?
So when I started, we didn't have really any support for women's. Some of the questions I was asked when I joined my apprenticeship weren't necessarily fair to be asked because it was based on my physical stature or my ability to handle the heat. I know the boys weren't asked those questions. I feel like that's changed a lot, by the way. Those are no longer questions to be asked. In our local for the IBEW, we actually just started a women's committee as of last year to help encourage the inclusion, and we're growing that up, working on getting chartered. And so it's changed a lot, and I feel like I've kind of led a lot of headway in that change, and so have the girls that came up with me.
Oh, I think that it's so impressive that you do have that women's committee meeting. And I think that all blue collar industries or male led industries as a whole, there's a huge shift that we're seeing, especially over the last few years. And it's great that you have taken initiative to kind of head that for your own group,
Right.
to see the changes and become the changes that you want to see. As an executive board member, what are some of the key things that you're focused on?
So we're focused a lot on inclusion and membership development. We like to do a lot of things that have to do with trade development, including new classes to send our membership to. We call them delegates when we pick members out to send them to trainings or conferences for the IBEW nationally or internationally. And I definitely like to pay more attention to funding those than I do other things.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, those are big topic items,
Correct.
So when it comes to being an instructor, what inspires you to get into that?
So in the little niche that I kind of fell into with what I do in the field, I don't really get to work with apprentices one-on-one very often. So I decided to become an instructor so that I still could reach to the apprentices and give back to what I feel like was given to me.
Yeah.
So that's what inspired me to do it, and I absolutely love teaching at the apprenticeship. So
That's amazing. So you're giving back what was given to you.
Yeah.
How have your experiences as an instructor influenced your work as an electrician and vice versa?
I feel like I'm constantly reminding myself of material that I've forgotten. Even if I'm teaching the same class each semester, there's things that I just forget that I remember, and light bulbs go off on projects I'm working on, and I feel like it kind of aids each other because I work on things that I teach, and I teach things that I'm working on, and it kind of,
Yeah, no, that makes sense. My background is also in teaching.
Yeah.
So learning things like when I would teach English, there are a lot of rules that I would forget because it's not something I think about. So being on the other side of it, I'm like, oh yeah, I before E,
right.
all that kind of fun stuff. As a foreman, what are some of the most important skills you need to have to effectively manage a team of electricians?
You definitely have to have empathy,
Yeah.
but you also have to be able to read people and understand their strengths and weaknesses. It doesn't make sense to put a fish on a task of climbing a tree, right? So it's good to know what the strengths are in your employees. If I have journeymen that are really good at bending pipe and really terrible in panels, I'm going to make them bend pipe, and I'm going to put someone else in a panel. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. And having a lot of emotional intelligence, I feel, is a really big thing in any leadership industry.
Absolutely.
You can't lead with brute force. You have to lead with compassion and understanding.
Exactly.
How do you stay up to date with the latest technologies and techniques in the electrical industry?
I think that has a lot to do with my position at the apprenticeship.
Okay.
I just recently took an instrumentation course to stay up to date on some of that stuff and get the training there. And as far as the field side goes, I do a lot of testing and maintenance, so I get to stay up to date on some of the latest test equipment and ways to use them. So that's pretty neat. So it mostly just comes from field experience or the work that I do.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Oh, that's great. And how do you see the electrical industry evolving over the next coming years, and what challenges do you anticipate?
I see the industry growing like crazy. Vehicles are going toward an electrical model. I know that we're doing EV-specific training now
I saw that.
For journeyman classes, and I think that we're just going to keep growing. A lot's coming away from the mechanical side of things and going into an electrical side of things, and sustainability is coming a lot too.
It is.
Solar and everything else. We're going to need a ton of men or women in the workforce, and there's endless options of what you can do with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And in order to keep above ground with, and so that we don't get left behind, we have to constantly evolve with what's changing.
Exactly.
What do you hope to accomplish in your career going forward?
I hope to help grow the industry. I really hope to help train those that are coming up through the apprenticeship and teach them the right way to do things. And I would like to see our reach grow as far as the work that we have here locally and internationally. And I just hope to help make it grow.
Yeah. I think, creating a good reach is exactly what we need in this industry, because it seems like a lot of people, they don't even know that apprenticeships, exist. So creating that is huge. Letting people know that you don't have to go to college, even though college is a great option. It may not be the best option for everybody.
It wasn't for me.
Yeah. Finally, what advice would you give to other women who are interested in pursuing leadership roles in the trades? And how can they best prepare themselves for success in these roles?
Okay. The advice I would give is don't sell yourself short. If leadership role is something you want to go for, don't listen to the negative voice in your head that's going to tell you that nobody's going to take you seriously, because they absolutely will. My advice to obtaining leadership roles in the trades is first start out with an apprenticeship. It doesn't matter what trade you go into. You're going to learn all of the skills that you need, not only on how to do your job and how to do it well, but how to deal with the people in your job. And I know personally our IBEW does form and development series classes, and those are absolutely helpful in trying to pursue leadership roles in this trade.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. That's so exciting though, Yeah. All right. Well, that is the last of the questions I have. I want to thank you so much, Sierra, for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
All right.